Alright, so we're about a month into 2023, and you know what that means. The comic book movies are going to start coming out here very soon. We're here to talk about them all. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Before we jump into what we're talking about today, if this is your first time here, welcome. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you know anytime we upload any new videos. Also be sure to hit the thumbs up, as it really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. And with that said, let's jump on into it. So, 2023, January is just about over, and comic book movies are fixing to start coming out. So I thought I would talk about the movies that are slated for this year, and I'm going to put them each into three different categories based on my excitement level for them. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's how it'll go down as far as when I watch them, although for a couple it might. But for the most part, this is how I'm going to rate them and tell you guys why I'm maybe not as excited about some and way more excited about others. So the three categories that I'm going to put everything into is I'll watch them eventually. Those are the ones that I'm just kind of least excited about. I might just check them out if they're on a streaming platform sometime down the road. And, you know, we'll see. Whether I watch them or not is kind of an indifferent thing. The next one is I can wait till they're on streaming. So this is, I'm excited for them, but I don't necessarily want to pay the money to go see them in theaters. Although some of them could change based on when more trailers and stuff come out, so you never know. But yeah, so it's, you know, okay, cool. When it gets on streaming, I'll watch it and I'll be happy to talk about it. And then finally, it's must see in theaters. These are the ones I'm most excited about. I 100% have no problems going to the theater, having a good time, and enjoying the movie experience. Okay, so with that said, let me give you the list of the movies I'm here to talk about. There's 10 of them on the slate for this year. So starting off, we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods, Blue Beetle, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, The Marvels, Kraven the Hunter, and Super Mario Brothers. Now, I realize the Super Mario Brothers is kind of a cheater. Yes, I understand it's mainly known as a video game franchise, but there really were Super Mario comics. Valiant actually has a series that they did. So for the sake of this, I'm going to go ahead and include that today. So like I said, I'm going to rate these, put these into categories based on my excitement for them. And I figure I'll start from the ones I'm least excited about and then kind of build up to a bang. So let's start with the first category, which is eventually I'll watch them. The first one on this list is Kraven the Hunter. From what I understand and what I'm reading, they're not going to do Kraven the Hunter like you know for the most part in the comics, or have seen maybe in the Spider-Man cartoon from the 90s, where he's a villain. As I understand, this is going to be his son, who is more like he's an animal lover, which is cool. But I don't know much about him, so my excitement is not really there. And that's probably why this is, I'll get to it eventually, unless maybe when a trailer finally does drop, it brings some excitement for it. But as of right now, I'm just kind of very middle of the road, you know, cool, I'll watch it because I do like watching all comic book movies, but it's not a, alright, I've got to watch it as soon as possible type deal. The next one is The Marvels. That's the last one for this category. I am one of the few that Captain Marvel for me was just not that great a movie. It was kind of boring. You know, I felt the character. I like Captain Marvel, but I'm just not the biggest fan of how the movie was. So for the sake of, I guess, a sequel or whatever this is meant to be, the excitement's just not there. I think it has the potential to be really good. I'm hoping it is, so that I can kind of be renewed in that side of things. But at the moment, I'm just kind of, you know, we'll see what happens. And when I watch it, who knows, maybe I'll get blown away by the movie. Alright, so the next one is can wait till streaming. The first movie in this category is here mainly because I have no idea what this is really going to be about. So my excitement level is tempered a little bit because of that, but I am also very excited because of the people and the cast involved in the movie, and that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. This one, if I remember right, is due out around August, but all I can find so far is a title and basically some cast info, like Seth Rogen and a few other names that I really, really enjoy are behind this movie. So the framework is there for this to be really good, especially given that I think this is going to be animated. It's not going to be live action, and usually animated TMNT stuff is really good. Live action, the first two movies from the 90s, as you know, they're my favorites of all time. The movies from the 2010s, not so much, because they really didn't depict the Turtles like how they are. I was happy to see Stephen Amell make his big silver screen debut and whatnot. That was probably the highlight of the series for me. But other than that, I felt that those could have been better. They weren't the best representation of the Turtles. But I hope that this one being animated will bring back that love, and we'll get a good reception in theaters, because animated stuff really is really good. I think sometimes it's underutilized on the big screen. Most of the time it's just reserved for, all right, here's your DVD. But yeah, I hope that this one is really, really good. Hopefully more info comes out as to what it's going to be, and if a trailer eventually comes, so that I can really start getting hyped up for what it's going to be about. Alright, so the next one will probably be a bit of a surprise, and this one really can kind of go in either one of these two categories, but for right now, this is where it's at, and that is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Can I wait till it gets to streaming? Yes. But am I excited to see how Marvel kicks off Phase 5 and what this new overall arc is going to be with Kang, and I think Secret Invasion is something that's coming up for this? Extremely excited. So this one is kind of an in-betweener in that I can go see it in theaters, but I'm also okay if I get it as soon as it hits like Disney+. Ant-Man is one of those characters that I still know very, very little about. I've really only experienced the Hank Pym version of Ant-Man in the comics that I have read with Ant-Man in them. So Scott Lang is really a character for me that I don't know. And I know even less about the Wasp and of course, their daughter. That said, this movie I think has the potential to be really, really good and remind people why what Marvel did with the overlying Infinity Saga was as good as it was. And that's what I hope that this movie does. And whatnot. Now, don't get me wrong, Spider-Man and Shang-Chi in this last phase were absolutely amazing movies. I loved both of them. But they were kind of, and of course Doctor Strange. I'm sorry, don't let me forget about Doctor Strange. I loved all of those. But for this to kick off where everything is going after like Loki and the shows kind of did a setup is really big and really important for Marvel. So I really do hope that it does well. I hope that it brings everyone back to being like, oh my god, what is Marvel going to do next? So yeah, with that said, that's my thoughts on Ant-Man. Alright, so the next movie on this list, now that I'm looking at everything, I actually realized I didn't say this at the top of the video, so my fault for that, but definitely is something worth talking about, and that is The Flash. This one falls into the I can wait till streaming category, mainly because I'm not the biggest Ezra Miller fan. I love The Flash as a character. I've not enjoyed his portrayal all that much. But that said, what the movie is actually going to do, and the fact that it's basically going to be like the reset of the DCU that I think James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to use to catapult their universe off. It's definitely worth watching. Not to mention, I hope Michael Keaton is there and any other of the multiverse characters that are going to come in. It's basically DC's first time doing a live action on the silver screen multiverse deal. They had that huge CW crossover with Elseworlds and whatnot, and that was awesome. But this will be the first time they do it on like this scope. So I'm very curious to see what they do. I'm excited to see what they do. But because of the fact that I'm just not the fan of how Ezra Miller has portrayed the Flash, just kind of tempers that excitement down a little bit. But nonetheless, it's definitely going to be fun and definitely worthwhile. So the next and last one in this category that I can wait till streaming is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I waited for the first Aquaman to hit streaming, and I got it and watched it, and it was a pleasantly surprising movie. I really actually enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Of all things from DC, that was the first movie of theirs that did the $1 billion mark. But overall, it was good. I love Jason Momoa. I'm a big fan of him. He definitely added his own unique twist onto Aquaman. But that said, again with this one, my excitement is kind of in the middle, where I really do want to watch it because comics-wise, I've always leaned a little more DC than I have Marvel. So I've always wanted the DC movies to succeed. I realize that Aquaman, as we know it after this movie, is done. And if you think that Jason Momoa is coming back as Aquaman, I don't think so. I think he really is going to be Lobo in the James Gunn, Peter Safran universe, which is great. He literally is a living version of that character. So for me, that's a great fit for him. And I do hope that they do something with Aquaman in the new universe. I just don't know who or how you'd want to go about it. But that's just my thoughts on it. They may even do an Aqua Lad, given the young direction that they seem to want to go with everything. But like I said, this one I probably for sure will wait till it's out on streaming. I know it's pretty much the last movie that comes out for the year, so it probably means 2024 will be really when I get a chance to check it out. But nonetheless, I hope it's good, just for the sake of DC having a good film out. Or at least another good film out, because I think their slate this year is actually very strong. So the last 5 movies all fall into the I must see these in theaters. These are the ones that I am the most excited for, and I honestly will just can't wait. We'll probably have videos and reviews here on them. So yeah, with that said, let me go with the cheater one first, Super Mario Brothers. If anybody has seen the Super Mario Brothers movie from the 90s, you know that pretty much doesn't resemble Mario at all, at least in any capacity that they've ever shown the Mario Brothers on TV, in comics, in video games. It just didn't fit. That said, there was still a little bit of a love for it there, but this movie, being what it's going to be, being animated and very much a Mario Brothers movie, I am very, very excited. Chris Pratt as Mario, yeah, sign me up. I'm going to see that just to have a good time. This is one of those, don't go into the movie to take it serious. Go into this movie to relax, have some laughs, have a good time. If you're like me, let your inner 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old out and just enjoy the Mario legacy over what it's been for the last 30 some odd years at this point, even probably close to 40, and just have a good time with it. That's what that movie's going to be all about. It's a family fun time. So next on my list is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I think this is going to be kind of the swan song to the Marvel Universe that we all know and love. I don't think that the Guardians are necessarily done in the Marvel Universe. I just think that this might be the last time that they get a feature film. Especially with James Gunn going over, and now he's directing all of DC, and he's kind of overseeing that. The first 2 movies for me have been some of the absolute best that Marvel has done since they started the MCU. 1 especially is probably still my favorite MCU movie of all time. 2 was just as good, even though they kind of ruined Ego and everything in the way that was done, but still very good. I trust that James Gunn is going to go out with a bang on Volume 3, and that this is going to be something cool. I will be curious to see, now that it's been long enough, to see how the relationship, now that Peter and Mantis know that they're brother and sister, so to speak, I'll be curious to see if that plays into this new movie in any way. But I am also very curious to see if they finally introduce Nova. I know we're getting Warlock in this movie, and he was teased a long time ago, and it's great. I hope that Warlock is good. But we really need to finally introduce Nova. You've had the Nova Corps in every Guardians movie. We need Nova. That's one of my favorite Marvel characters, and I've been waiting for it. I don't care if it's Richard Rider or if it's Sam. I prefer Richard Rider, but you never know. But I want Nova. So that's my hope for this movie. That's kind of where my excitement's going. They've kind of hid that from it, so I'm hoping that that's what we get. So yeah, super excited just to see that, because I know that it's going to be a great finale to what is a good trilogy of movies. So this next one is the movie that I know, kind of like Marvel's and Craven. I don't know a lot about it, but my excitement level is very high based on what I have read and the set photos of the suit. And that's Blue Beetle. They're doing the Jaime version of Blue Beetle. So, and it makes sense. That's the most popular one. That's the one that most people probably know nowadays. But from the set photos that I've seen, the suit, other than Deadpool, is one of the most accurate suits to a comic book that I've seen. And I'm excited for it. Blue Beetle is an awesome character. And so I think that this has the potential to be really, really good. And I'm actually hoping that it does so well that maybe James Gunn and Peter Safran will figure out a way to keep Blue Beetle within their new universe. They did announce their first kind of slate of shows and movies. Some I'm really excited for, some I'm just kind of like, and whatnot. Kind of like, what are you thinking? But I'm still hoping for a good DC universe. But I want this movie to do well to the point that they consider keeping Blue Beetle within the universe. Alright, so this next one it's a no-brainer. This has to be in theaters, seen in theaters, and that's Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The first movie was so good. I can understand why that movie was nominated, award-winning, you name it. This, I hope, is just as good as the first one. I'm a big fan of the Spider-Verse. It was the first movie that really got me into the multiverse deal with Spider-Man. I knew who Spider-Gwen was, of course, Miles Morales, Spider-Man Noir and stuff. But like Spider-Ham and a few of the others I had never seen, so that was really cool. And the overall story was it was so good. And I've watched that movie I don't know how many times. I have a feeling it's going to be like that with this one. Part of the reason, too, that I'm excited to see this one is I actually missed the first one in theaters. I didn't see it till it was on streaming. And I was just like, oh, man. So this time around, I'm going to do myself a favor and go check this out in theaters, especially because the animation style is so good. So this is definitely the one that I might be the most excited about. But or at the very least, it's tied with the very last movie that I'm going to talk about. And that is Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I'm all into this series. I loved the first movie. It was the movie that I was most excited for out of all the DC stuff so far. And when I found out there was a sequel, I was just as excited. Zach Levi, and I forget the name of the kid who's playing Billy Madsen as a kid, but it's just, the movie was so well cast. The first movie really took me by surprise as to how good it was going to be. I knew I was going to enjoy it, but I didn't think I'd enjoy it that much. And then this one basically looks like they took the scope of it and just turned it up to 11. I just think again, the casting choices have been solid for this one, and it's going to be really, really good. And I'm glad that it's going to be on a more epic scope, more powers, more big, fantastical battle scenes look like what's going to take place based on all the trailers. And again, big Zach Levi fan, so I can't wait to see the new suit. Very Black Adam-esque in how it's designed, but it looks really, really cool. So yeah, as to whether this is the swan song and this version of Shazam as we know it is not in there moving forward, we'll see. But frankly, that's not something that I care about as much as I just want to go in and enjoy the movie. And that's basically how I've been able to kind of go into the DC movies this year. I understand that everything's going to get rebooted and that there's a chance that anything that does well still may not come back anyway. So I'm just going to go in and enjoy them for what they are and what they're going to be, and that they will always be there for me to watch. Because in the end, even if whatever I don't like from what James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to do, I still have this stuff that I like to come back to. There's plenty of DC stuff that you can enjoy. So those are my thoughts on all the comic book movies for this year. Let me know down in the comments what are your expectations. What are the ones you're most excited for? What are the ones you're least excited for? But let's keep it civil and let's keep it just tempered. And just be supportive of each other. Let's not knock you. You can have a good conversation without being rude. Is basically what I'm trying to say. So with that said, I'm going to get out of your hair. As always, please stay safe, stay healthy. I will catch you next time. Later, everyone.